Revolution, where construction meets innovation.
Revolution. Let's build the future together.
Okay, so today we're going to dive into a topic that I think is pretty fascinating. Autonomous driving and specifically those robotaxis that we've all been hearing so much about.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the jumping off point for this deep dive is going to be this blog post from Revolution.
Okay.
It's by Christian K. Carl, and the title is Autonomes Fahren und Robotaxis, Stand und Perspektiven. So that's German for autonomous driving and robotaxis. Status and perspectives.
Yeah, and this is a really good piece because it's not just looking at the technology from the perspective of like what it means for you and me just, getting around in our own cars.
Right.
But it's also looking at what does it mean for commercial vehicles, for businesses, for, the future of transportation in general.
Yeah, like beyond just my personal car, like how's it going to affect trucking or delivery or all sorts of things.
Exactly.
So our mission in this deep dive is to try to extract the most important insights from this blog post. So that you can really get a good grasp of the current state of development in autonomous driving and robotaxis and get a sense of where things are headed.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics.
Yeah, let's get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, what are we even talking about here when we say autonomous driving?
Right.
And the article lays out a really clear framework for understanding this, which are the SAE levels of automation.
Yeah, it's a good system.
Yeah, there's 6 of them, ranging from 0 to 5. So 0 is basically no automation. That's your traditional vehicle where the human driver is completely in control of everything.
Right, like the car I grew up with.
Exactly, yeah. And then you go up to level 1, which is where you start to see some driver assistance features.
Yeah, things that help you, but you're still really driving.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So like adaptive cruise control, which helps you maintain a safe distance from the car in front of you.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice one on a long road trip.
Yeah, for sure. Or lane keeping assist, which gently nudges you back into your lane if you start to drift.
Right.
So these are things that can help make driving a little easier and safer.
Yeah.
But the human is still the one who's primarily responsible.
Yeah, for sure.
And then level 2 is what's called partial automation.
Yeah.
And the blog post uses Tesla Autopilot in its current form as a good example of this.
Okay, so now the car's starting to do a little bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here the vehicle can actually manage multiple driving tasks simultaneously.
Like steering and speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it can steer and accelerate and even change lanes in some cases.
Oh.
And this is a really important point. The driver must be constantly attentive and ready to take over at a moment's notice.
Okay, so you can't fall asleep at the wheel yet.
No, not at all.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Level 2 is still a driver-centric system.
Right, it's assisting you, it's not taking over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, level 3 is where things start to get really interesting. This is what's called conditional automation.
Okay.
And here, the vehicle can actually handle all of the driving tasks under certain conditions.
Oh, wow.
The example given in the blog post is the Audi A8 Style Pilot, which unfortunately they discontinued.
Yeah.
But this was designed to allow self-driving on highways up to 60 kilometers per hour.
Wow.
But the key here is that it only worked under specific conditions like good weather, clear road markings, things like that.
Okay, so it's getting close to true autonomy, but not quite there yet.
Right. And the driver still needs to be ready to take over if the system requests it.
Oh, I see. So it's still conditional. The car is saying like, hey, I can handle this, but you better be ready just in case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a glimpse of full autonomy, but with significant limitations and still requiring that human safety net.
Got it.
Now, level 4 is where we see a real leap forward. This is high automation. And here we start to see truly autonomous operation possible.
Okay, so now we're getting into the realm of those robotaxis we were talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
All right.
So the blog post highlights Waymo in specific urban areas as a good example of this.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, so their vehicles are operating without a human driver present at all.
Oh, wow.
And it also mentions the robotaxi Kyrie pilot program in Germany, which is another instance of level 4 autonomy.
Oh, interesting.
So in these level 4 scenarios, the vehicle can really handle the vast majority of driving situations within its designated area.
So it's like it's got a specific zone where it's really good.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And human intervention is expected to be very rare.
Oh, wow. So this is really like truly self-driving cars.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
And then finally we have level 5, which is the ultimate goal, full automation.
Okay, so this is like the holy grail of autonomous driving.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So this is a vehicle that requires no human driver whatsoever and can operate autonomously in any environment under any conditions.
Wow, so like rain, snow, sleet, hail, like nothing stops it.
Yeah, exactly. Like anything you can throw at it, it can handle.
Wow.
The blog post talks about, future driverless taxis operating everywhere as the epitome of level 5 autonomy.
Okay, so we're not quite there yet.
Not yet, but that's the dream, right?
Right.
Okay, so now that we have a sense of the different levels of autonomy, let's talk about who's actually out there trying to make this stuff a reality.
Yeah, let's get into the companies.
Yeah. So the blog post gives us a rundown of the key players in the robotaxi space, and we'll start with AutoX.
Okay.
So this is a Chinese startup based in Shenzhen,
Okay.
and they've already deployed their 5th generation robotaxi.
5th generation.
Yeah, they're moving fast.
Wow.
And what's really interesting is that these vehicles are powered by NVIDIA Drive, which gives them a ton of computing power.
So NVIDIA, they're the ones who make those graphics cards for gamers, right?
Exactly.
Wow, so they're applying that technology to self-driving cars now.
Yeah, so they've kind of pivoted, and now they're really a major player in the autonomous driving space.
Oh, wow.
So this NVIDIA Drive system allows these robotaxis to navigate the incredibly complex urban environment of Shenzhen without any safety drivers.
So no one behind the wheel at all?
Nope.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and they're relying on advanced cameras and LiDAR sensors for perception.
LiDAR.
Yeah, so LiDAR uses lasers to create a 3D map of the vehicle's surroundings.
Oh, wow. So it's like giving the car supervision.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like giving it a way to see even better than a human can.
Okay, that's really cool.
And that's really important for operating in a city like Shenzhen, which is incredibly dense and chaotic.
Yeah, a lot going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
So AutoX sounds like they're really pushing the boundaries here.
Yeah, they're definitely one to watch, for
Yeah.
sure. All right, let's move on to Baidu.
Okay, another Chinese company.
Yeah, so this is another big one in the robotaxi space.
Okay.
And they're using their Apollo platform to develop their technology. It's their kind of self-driving system.
Okay.
And they've just unveiled their 6th generation of robotaxis.
6th generation.
Yeah, they're really iterating quickly.
Oh.
And with this latest generation, they're really focusing on reducing costs and enhancing the technology.
Okay, so trying to make it more commercially viable.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And they have some pretty big ambitions. They're aiming to deploy 1,000 of these robotaxis in Wuhan by the end of this year, 2024.
Wow. 1,000 robotaxis. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant number.
Yeah.
And they're actually targeting profitability for their robotaxi operations by 2025.
2025. So they're thinking they can actually make money off this pretty soon.
Yeah, that seems to be their plan.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty aggressive, but they seem confident.
Okay, let's see if they can pull it off.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about Cruise.
Okay.
So this is the self-driving technology arm of General Motors.
Oh, okay. So a more traditional car company getting into the robotaxi game.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And they're based in San Francisco.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And they've been doing a lot of testing of their autonomous technology.
Mm-hmm.
But you might remember they had to pause operations back in October of last year.
Oh, yeah. I think I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, there were a couple of safety incidents.
Yeah, that's right.
So they had to halt things for a bit. But they did resume public road testing back in May of this year.
Okay.
So they're back at it.
So clearly safety is a really big concern here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even one incident can really set things back.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, let's talk about Huawei.
Oh, Huawei, the phone company.
Yeah, so you probably know them for their smartphones, but they're also making some big moves in the autonomous vehicle space.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're doing this through partnerships with major Chinese automakers.
Like who?
Like GAC Group, Chang'an Auto, and SAIC.
Okay.
And they're specifically working with GAC Group to try to deploy level 4 autonomous vehicles by the end of this year.
Wow, so that's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, they're really trying to catch up.
Okay.
And these vehicles are supposed to be able to operate autonomously in a variety of weather conditions.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But they might still need a human to intervene in certain situations.
Okay, so not quite perfect yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now, we can't forget about NVIDIA.
Right, the graphics card people we were talking about.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So they're kind of the powerhouse behind a lot of this robotaxi development.
Oh.
Their NVIDIA Drive platform is what a lot of these companies are using for the AI computing.
Okay, so they're not building the cars themselves, but they're providing the brains.
Exactly.
Yeah, interesting.
So their technology is being used by AutoX, by Cruise, all sorts of companies.
Okay, so they're like a key enabler of this whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have a really interesting collaboration between Tencent and Toyota.
Okay, so two giants teaming up.
Yeah, so Tencent, you probably know them. They're a huge Chinese tech company.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they've got their hands in all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And they're active in the autonomous driving space through a lot of different investments and partnerships.
Okay.
And they're bringing their expertise in AI and data processing to the table.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And they're planning to collaborate with Toyota on something pretty interesting in the future.
Okay, what's that?
So they're going to combine Tencent's AI models and cloud computing capabilities and their vast digital ecosystems with Toyota's expertise in vehicle manufacturing.
Okay. So that sounds like a pretty powerful combination.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
And Toyota's really interesting because they're shifting their focus to become a mobility service provider.
So they're not just thinking about selling cars anymore.
Right. They're thinking about transportation as a whole.
Oh, okay. So like offering ride-hailing services and things like that.
That's exactly. Yeah.
Wow. So they're really thinking big picture.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
And they're emphasizing electrification, intelligence, and diversification.
So it sounds like they're really embracing the future of transportation.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Okay. And of course, we have to talk about Tesla.
Right. The big one.
Yeah. So they're doing things a little differently than a lot of these other companies.
How so?
Well, they're trying to handle everything in-house, from the vehicle manufacturing all the way to the operation of their own robotaxi fleet.
Okay. So they're not really partnering with anyone. They're trying to do it all themselves.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And their full self-driving, or FSD, system is really what they're pinning their hopes on.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about that.
Yeah, they just released version 12.5, which is supposed to be a big step forward.
Okay.
They're really pushing for regulatory approval in Europe, in China, all over the place.
Okay.
And their goal is to achieve full vehicle autonomy by the end of this year, or maybe next year.
Wow. So pretty soon they're saying they'll have cars that can drive themselves anywhere.
Yeah, that's what they're aiming for.
That's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, okay.
And then once they have that, they plan to launch their own robotaxi service.
Okay, so they're really going all in on this vision of the future.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about Waymo.
Waymo.
Yeah, so these started out as the Google self-driving car project.
Oh, okay. So they've been at this for a while.
Yeah, they have a really long history in this field.
Yeah.
And they're actually a subsidiary of Alphabet, which is Google's parent company.
Okay.
And they've been working on this for a long time. Their origins go all the way back to the Stanford racing team and the DARPA Grand Challenges.
The DARPA Grand Challenges, those were those early autonomous vehicle competitions,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Wow. So they were like pioneers in this field.
Yeah, they were.
Okay.
And they already operate a commercial robotaxi service in several cities in the U.S.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're actually out there doing it. And they're continuing to refine their technology and expand their service area.
Okay.
And they're also working with Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Yeah, they announced a partnership back in October of last year.
Okay, so they're collaborating with a traditional car company.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have XPeng.
XPeng, another Chinese company.
Yeah, they're another Chinese automaker with some pretty big ambitions in the robotaxi space.
Okay.
And they're aiming to launch their own robotaxi service within the next 2 years.
Wow, so that's pretty soon.
Yeah, they're moving fast.
Okay.
But their strategy is a little different than some of these other companies.
How so?
Well, they're planning to build and sell the autonomous vehicles themselves, but they want other companies to actually operate the robotaxi service.
Oh, interesting. So they're kind of like a supplier?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the company they're working with is Didi.
Didi.
Yeah, Didi is the big ride-hailing platform in China.
Oh, okay. So it's like their version of Uber.
Yeah.
And they're already collaborating with Didi on a new electric sedan called the MO3 Mona.
Okay, so they're really serious about this partnership.
Yeah, it seems like it.
Yeah.
And Didi also has their own autonomous trucking division called Cargobot.
Oh, wow. So they're interested in self-driving trucks, too.
Yeah, it seems like they're really looking at all aspects of autonomous transportation.
Wow. Okay, so they're thinking big.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
And then finally, we have Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, okay, Mercedes.
Yeah, so they've already achieved a pretty significant milestone.
What's that?
They received approval for their Level 3 Drive Pilot system in the United States.
Oh, wow. So they're the first ones to get that approved.
Well, they're the first non-robotaxi company to get it approved in the U.S.
Okay. That's still pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And more recently, they also got the green light to start testing their Level 4 autonomous driving technology in Shanghai.
Oh, wow. So they're really making progress.
Yeah, they are. And this Level 4 system is designed to handle pretty much all driving tasks, including complex maneuvers in specific areas.
So it's still limited to certain areas, but it can do a lot.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And they're really hoping that this technology will help them regain some of the market share they've been losing to companies like XPeng.
Oh, right. Those Chinese EV makers are really coming on strong.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all these different companies making moves, who's actually ahead right now?
Yeah. Who's winning the robotaxi race?
Well, the article points out that the main places where robotaxis are being deployed and tested are dense urban environments.
Makes sense. You need a lot of data to train these systems, and cities are where the data is.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And the article specifically mentions Shenzhen, Beijing, and Shanghai as major hubs for this activity.
Okay, so China's really at the forefront of this stuff.
Yeah, it seems like they are, yeah.
Okay.
And they also have a pretty supportive regulatory environment, which helps.
Right. The government is on board with this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
So right now it seems like AutoX and Baidu are probably the leaders in terms of robotaxi deployment in China.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. But over the U.S., Waymo has a really strong presence in cities like Phoenix, San Francisco, and Los Angeles.
Okay, so they're still a major player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the article really emphasizes that this is a very dynamic situation and things could change really quickly.
Right. New players could emerge.
Yeah.
Technologies could advance really rapidly.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It's a really exciting field to be watching.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the use of autonomous driving technology in commercial vehicles.
Okay, so moving beyond just robotaxis.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And the blog post uses this really interesting partnership between NVIDIA, ZF, Friedrichshafen AG, and Hella as an example of this trend.
Okay, so NVIDIA again.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah, it seems like they are.
And then ZF, they're a major global supplier of drive and chassis technology and safety systems for vehicles.
Okay.
And they're working with NVIDIA and Hella to develop autonomous techs specifically for industrial applications.
Oh, interesting. So like self-driving construction equipment and things like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, the blog post specifically mentions construction and agriculture as two key sectors where they're focusing their efforts.
Okay, so this could really revolutionize those industries.
Yeah, it could definitely make things a lot safer and more efficient.
Yeah, for sure.
And their main goal is to develop this technology to meet the really stringent safety standards of the New Car Assessment Program, or NCAP.
NCAP.
Yeah, so NCAP is the organization that gives those safety ratings to cars.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, so, they do all those crash tests and they rate cars based on how safe they are.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're really trying to make sure that this autonomous technology for commercial vehicles is just as safe as the technology that's going into passenger cars.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're focusing on building platforms that can process all the data coming in from cameras, radar, and LiDAR.
Okay, so making sure the vehicles can really perceive their environment accurately.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And Hella is a key player in this because they're a leading provider of camera perception software and sensor technologies.
Oh, okay, so they're like the eyes of the system.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And they're using NVIDIA's Drive PX AI platform to do all of this.
Okay, so NVIDIA is really the backbone of this whole thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And their goal is to achieve the highest NCAP safety ratings for both passenger cars and commercial vehicles.
Okay, so they're really committed to safety.
Yeah, it's a top priority for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the main takeaway is that autonomous driving technology has the potential to be really transformative.
Yeah, it's not just about robotaxis, it's about so much more.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Right.
about changing the way we move around our cities and the way we work.
Yeah, like those self-driving construction vehicles we were talking about, that could really change things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the article paints a picture of a future where autonomous vehicles are just commonplace.
Yeah, like it's not even a big deal anymore. They're just everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. That's pretty wild to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And that could lead to much safer and more efficient traffic flow in our cities.
Yeah, no more traffic jams.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could also open up all sorts of new possibilities for urban mobility and logistics.
Yeah, like imagine you could just summon a self-driving vehicle to take you anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or you could have your groceries delivered by a robot.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the big question is, who's going to lead this autonomous revolution?
Yeah, it's still a wide open race, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So we've got all these companies we talked about today, but there could be new players that emerge or unexpected partnerships that form.
Right. Things are moving so fast, it's hard to say what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just to recap what we covered in this deep dive, we started by talking about the different levels of autonomous driving.
Right, from 0 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we looked at some of the key companies that are developing robotaxi technology.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And we also talked about how autonomous driving technology is being applied to commercial vehicles.
Yeah, like those self-driving trucks and construction equipment.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's clear that this is a really rapidly evolving field with a lot of potential to change the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I guess my final thought for you, our listener, is to think about the broader societal and economic implications of all this.
Yeah, like how is this going to affect our lives in the years to come?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We talked about robotaxis and self-driving trucks, but what about other areas of our lives?
Right, like what about healthcare or education or manufacturing?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
How is this technology going to impact those industries?
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, just something to ponder as we move into this autonomous future.
Definitely.
All right, well, that's it for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was great talking to you.
Yeah, you too.
All right, we'll catch you next time.
This was Revolution.
Where construction meets innovation. Until next time, keep building the future.